What's up, everybody? My name is Scott, aka Scoots, if that's what you would like to call me, and welcome to Eminence TV Live, our weekly rundown of tournament cEDH and what's going on in the cEDH community. I'm Scott, still. As always, I'm not joined by Ashani this week. Sadly, he is feeling pretty sick, so our good thoughts and positive vibes to him and his family as he recovers from this illness. We would like to thank our sponsors, Moxfield and the Epic Storm, without whom this would not be so amazing. If you're enjoying Eminence content and would like to see more, please consider subscribing here on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to one channel a month for free, and we'd love it if you'd consider using that on us. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/EminenceMTG. Your pledge there goes to improve the programs of Eminence cEDH community, this very broadcast, among many other things. We'd be so grateful for your support. Some announcements to get out of the way, actually. Silicon Dynasty is in San Jose, California, January 13th through the 15th. It is coming up very quickly. There are 51 tickets left for the main event, and the prize pool has been increased to $5,000 thanks to our sponsor, Moxfield. Very, very exciting. I think it's the largest prize pool we've offered yet, and it should be a pretty great event. Punt City 2, March 24th through the 26th, is happening in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. That's right, Phoenixville, Philadelphia metro area. It should be a blast. Punt City 1 was incredible. I loved seeing so many of your faces there, and I can't wait to see them again. The Cookout is happening this summer. That's right, this summer in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am super excited for that. I haven't been to that area in a long time, and I'm very much looking forward to going back and seeing what the South can put up for cEDH results. And then finally, for now, Windmill Slam, September 23rd through the 25th, back in San Jose, California. And if you hear some obnoxious barking in the background, it's Max, who is very grumpy that he is not in here with me. Command Tower is now live for shops and TOs globally to use. That's right, globally, as far as Japan, the reach has gone. Guam. Memberships go from $5 and up. Shop partnerships are live. The shop partners sponsor a player or players in the main Eminence events. Shops can purchase an entry at a slightly discounted rate and hold a cEDH event at their shop, with the winner getting the sponsored ride to the Eminence event. And by sponsored ride, I do mean an entry ticket. We reserve a certain amount of tickets for shop partners in an effort to bridge the gap between large-scale event systems and LGS-level scenes, which, as we all know, are the bread and butter of cEDH. We want to support the community and its player bases everywhere. This week, I am joined by a wonderful guest, Jesse from SpitePlays. Hello, Jesse.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's nice to be here.
Jesse, if people have been living under a rock for the last 10 years, can you tell everyone who you are, what you do, and where they can find you on the internet?
I guess a little intro for myself. I've been playing cEDH for about 5 years now, and started this channel maybe a year and a half ago. We've just been posting YouTube videos and stuff, but you can find us on YouTube, and then I have my Twitter down below. It's JP SpitePlays, and then we have some other people on the crew. There's like four of us on SpitePlays that we have, so you can go ahead and follow us. I'll be posting in below, but you can find us all pretty much on YouTube.
Awesome. Excellent. All right, Jesse, every week we like to take a little dive into the cEDH subreddit and talk about it with our guests just briefly. And this week I only have one post for that, and it is we go to the mid-range myth. I'll post a link in the chat for all of you to go look at if you would like to. This week we have a video from Timmy T1000, friend of the show and friend of the host, and all around excellent brewer and idea smith, discussing the myth about mid-range and how it doesn't quite line up, and his thoughts about mid-range in the current meta, and some thoughts on how to improve its effectiveness. Timmy's cEDH content is always hidden. That's all I gotta say. The man has been playing for a long time and has a very good handle on different metas and wide-ranging strategies due to his work with the Budget Brews community. So you could also go to budgetbrews.club to see more of Timmy's work, or to the cEDH Budget Brews YouTube channel. And it would be so cool if you would go throw him your engagement. All right, well, now we get to the juicy parts, the good bits. Jesse, it is our big push for Silicon Dynasty right now, and I wanted to take a second to talk about for the first thing, I know that you and a contingent of others from your local area are planning to go, which is awesome. But I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the kind of the West Coast EDH scene and what maybe people could expect to see at Silicon Dynasty. So,
Honestly, the West Coast ADH scene has been popping recently, especially at our local LGS. Finch and Sparrows down in Long Beach, and we have TC Rockets. They sponsor Playing with Power now, I believe. So if you've heard of them, hires down there. So we have a lot of people. Josh, Mind Muscle Magic is in the SoCal area as well. So it's we definitely got a lot of people down here. We used to have Shauna. We have MTG Hot Dog or Lauren.
yeah.
He goes to our LGS too. So yeah, we got a fair bit of people down here, and then I know there's some people in NorCal like Zrob and Zenetic, who's up there. So that's cool.
So personally, from the SoCal scene where you tend to hang out, do you notice a large difference between the East Coast kind of traditional cEDH meta that people are probably more familiar with, and the West Coast kind of meta? Because I will admit, I have basically zero experience with West Coast cEDH because I am up here in the frozen Northeast. So
Yeah, I'd say I think from the tournament results I've been seeing, it seems like the East Coast is definitely a little bit more on the mid-range side. Like I see a ton of Timna Thrasios. I still see that over here a little bit, but I've noticed a lot more Blue Farm. There's like some Turbo Nagila. I've played Rog Silas before. There's another guy that plays Rog Silas. I think it tends to be a little bit faster over here, maybe.
okay.
But besides that, I think the metas are, once you get it like at Silicon Dynasty, there's going to be people flying in and coming in from everywhere. So you're going to get a good range of things. But I think if it is going to be on the West Coast, it might tend a little bit more toward the turbo.
So, what would you say that your personal playing style is?
That's funny actually. I started first with Godo, and that was like
Okay.
5 years ago. Obviously,
Very
I've
fast.
moved on. It was fast before. Now it's kind of like
it's
a more mid-range
It's a
deck.
little
It's
slower
funny.
now. Yeah.
It's definitely more slower. But I switched completely to stacks for a long time. I was playing Heliod, mono white Heliod during the Flash Hulk meta, and just messing around with that. And then Winota came out, but I took a little bit of a break, and then I came back, and then Winota was out, and people were like, "Dude, this commander is insane." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. I like stacks, and this seems pretty cool." And yeah, Winota was a total game changer for stacks, in my opinion. Honestly, it's so good. It really pushes other stacks decks out of the meta, which is kind of sad. If you're not able to like stop Winota and you're playing stacks, it almost feels like someone's like king making for me
Kind of
when
like
they're
you're
playing
feeding
like,
Winota a little bit. Yeah.
oh, 100%. Yeah, it's literally like I straight up just feel like I'm getting fed games when I'm playing against like another Selesnya deck.
Yeah.
That's just there and playing like Thalia and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, cool, thanks. I'm gonna play like Rabble Master. I don't have to play my stacks piece now.
Yeah, that's
And
why I
so,
stopped
yeah.
playing Aurelia personally, because I just every time
Right.
I was in a pod with a Nota, Okay, great. My Ethersworn Canonist makes the game easier for you. Okay, I guess I'll not do that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I do play almost. I've probably played every archetype in cEDH. I have yet to. Oh, I've played a little bit of Tibia Thrasios and a little bit of Blue Farm, like a tiny bit, just because I don't like usually playing like the top tier deck. I'll try it out, but I like finding like more niche stuff, and
Yeah.
even if it's not niche, I just like finding more unique strategies. I think there's also a lot of room to brew in this format. That's what I like about it. I play Pauper, Legacy, Modern, but this format I love the most because of the brewing potential.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of space to be creative and explore ideas. I think that there is like a framework that you stay inside of, but within that framework there are so many different avenues that you can go down. I saw an interesting post on the Twitter machine today that basically said just because you choose to play less than 4 colors and do the same strategy as a 4-color deck doesn't make the deck worse, it just makes it different.
Yeah, yeah. That is one thing I do have like a contention with, and especially with the decks that we personally build, like on our channel. I feel like I don't like building decks that do the same thing but worse. You know,
Mhm.
like if I'm gonna build a mid-range Turbo Nas strat, I want it to be special and not just like a worse version of Blue Farm.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
that's
Yeah.
kind of and that's really what I push for, like, and especially in our videos and our decks. I mean, we have some like wild decks on there, but we also do have very niche stuff. Like we have a crick list that's just it's the fastest crick list that you can have, like by far. But it obviously shaves off from a little bit of the more mid-rangey crick stuff, which is cool. We have like what is it? Urza's Battle Thopter, colorless cEDH, sick. It's actually fun and it's a sick deck. And then we do have the Rog Tavesh Turbo Stacks, which has been our little fun brew that we've had for a while.
Nice. I think I have seen Rogdevesh Turbo Stacks in action.
I'm
I
sorry.
know Ashani plays Rogdevesh Turbo Stacks occasionally. Um, and it's been very interesting to see it in action. The first time I saw Culling the Weak, I think it was, into Trinisphere, was
Okay.
mind-boggling. Uh,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a special deck. It actually has been performing incredibly well in our like LGS, which is cool. And then we took it to CCU, and I think it went two. I don't know. I think it was 3-2-2 or 2-2-3, but it was like a couple points off of making top 16, which is kind of
Nice.
sad. And we're definitely going to be taking some of that to Silicon Dynasty.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a hard deck to get. I don't know. It plays like a turbo deck, but instead of turboing out, you're just turboing into like the most heinous things
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
You usually want to get Tavesh out first is like the main thing, and then that's how you're breaking parity on just these awful effects usually. Or you can play things like contamination. You also have like a hilarious outlet, obliterate.
Yeah.
If everything's going bad and you just have like your Tavesha, you could just tutor,
Turbo
get
Obliterate.
obliterate. It's
Yeah.
it sounds so like hilarious, but it actually has been doing pretty well, which is nice.
I will say that when Windgrace got spoiled, I was playing Windgrace Turbo Obliterate, so I feel the Planeswalker Obliterate love. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I've had a
fun.
lot of people tell me that they've wanted a Planeswalker cEDH deck, and I honestly think this is the closest that I've seen anyone get to it. You got the poly package too, which is nice. So you're
Yeah.
able to polymorph into Sire of Insanity or Void Winnower, and that just like really locks up the game. And then the ultimate win con is like actually beats, which is kind of funny. But you just steal everyone's commanders, or you make it like unplayable.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of people say, "Oh, how does it like win in time? Like, how do you, our LGS has 50-minute timed with turns,
Okay.
and people will try to stall it on purpose. I've seen like my friend who plays it a lot has had to call slow plays and stuff like that because people will try to like slow it down. And even in that meta, it was the most winning deck out of every deck in our LGS, and we get 25 to 35 players on
Nice.
average for bi-weekly tournaments for the last 8 months. So yeah, I'd say the most popular deck's Blue Farm.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are playing like Selvala or
Yeah.
like some old like cEDH tech. They're playing top tier stuff, and we have
Yeah.
proxies, so that's the main thing.
Nice. Um,
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about getting in under the timer, and a hot button issue lately has been timed cEDH rounds and what to do in the case of your opponents maybe stalling to prevent your win. So how do you
Yeah.
feel about slow play violations in a tournament cEDH setting? And I guess my question to you is, as someone who goes to an LGS where they enforce that, what's enforcement like from the store or the judge level been?
So, I mean, I play like 1v1 a lot too. I've like qualified for RCQs and done legacy and other things. So it's kind of the same thing, honestly. It feels very similar where um you just call a judge whenever, you think someone's trying to slow play you on the clock. Like you're looking at the clock, and a lot of times you can tell. Like people will look up at the clock and then they'll like kind of look down and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna activate Sensei's Divining Top." That literally happened, and I was watching my friend play, and he just two people had Sensei's Divining Tops after an obliterate, and they were like trying to like slow the clock down, playing like that. And you just kind of just like say, "Hey, I'm gonna call a judge." Call
Yeah.
a judge, say, "Hey, I think he's slow playing here." They'll usually add some time, so they'll add like a minute or two
Mhm.
to your round, and then that'll usually help it go through. But for the most part, it almost never works to call. It's like if you're ever trying to slow play and you think it's going to give you an advantage, it usually doesn't.
Yeah.
It usually just makes you look kind of dumb. Like
Perhaps also
we get we get
inconsiderate. Yeah.
you're right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and activate top when my whole board's gone and you're about to ultimate to Vash. It just everyone knows sees the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Very cool. So you mentioned your it sounds like fairly close knit playtesting server and kind of community. So I wanted to
Mhm.
uh take a second to talk about that, and I know that you wanted to talk about it as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
you do you moderate? Are you in charge of the SoCal cEDH Discord, or is it a place that you hang,
Uh,
or
yeah, yeah. So I started the SoCal Discord, and I actually wanted to like definitely push on this. If you have like a local scene or whatever, I literally started this coming from a tiny shop. Like we used to be like in the back closet, like jokingly, but like we were in the back playing just 5 people cEDH, and then we started going to bigger stores. Both of the stores we go to now are WP and Premium. I think there's only like 3 in California, as far as I know. But just reach out to people, and like if you don't have I couldn't find a Discord server for like SoCal, or the one I did find was like really dead. So I just started to invite people like, "Hey, you play cEDH? Like, do you wanna join? Do you have Discord?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like, just invite people you think are like cool to play with and you've enjoyed playing with, and it'll keep growing. And just out of nowhere, it'll go from 5 people to right now. I think we're at like 102 members,
nice?
and we have people that I wouldn't even imagine being in there. Like we have some people in San Diego, Hire
Yeah.
and Josh Mind Muscle Magic. Those guys are super cool,
Yeah.
and they're in there, which is awesome. We've had like meetups with them and meetups with other people in the group. We meet up at least from the server, like alone. I really want to push. Like you guys should play in person as much as possible. It's the best experience for Magic, like honestly. And I think Silicon Dynasty and all these events are awesome to be having because it's really gonna push that in person versus webcam. Like webcam's fun, but like I feel like the best is always paper Magic. You get to play with your cards, you get to play with your friends in paper, and just hang out. It's a great time.
Yeah, I have sincerely missed the paper magic experience. I know it's been very difficult to organize over the last couple of years, but I'm glad that things are tending to
Right.
open back up and events are
Yeah.
starting to happen again. So, um, my question is, I guess, if someone is interested in starting their own community outside of like hitting up their friends and trying to start a Discord. Do
Mhm.
you have any you what did you do in the early stages as far as community building to get everyone kind of on the same page? And
Yeah, so I did go. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I did go to my LGS. They had their casual commander night, which was really big. So if you have like a really big casual scene, just go there and just start asking people if they want to play CDH. Like seriously, like go there and go ask the owner, like, hey, can I set up CDH pods? Because what Finch and Sparrow was doing, Mike was having uh, randomized, like you kind of like log in like you would do like a modern event. You just the
Hmm.
companion app, and it
Yeah.
would just randomize you, but it was in pods of 4. So I was like, hey, can you set up like one just with like CDH on the side? And he was like, oh, sure. And after 3 weeks, there was like consistently like 10 to 15 people coming or like going away from casual and playing CDH, even though they literally came to play casual.
Yeah.
So then he was like, all right, I'm just going to start doing CDH Mondays. And we've had like, on just random Monday nights, we've had up to like 26 people. And it's
Very
just like
nice.
a casual. Well, it's not casual. You get a $5 entry,
Yeah.
and it's all proxy friendly, which is awesome.
Maybe
And
chill
you
is the
just
word. Laid back.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the cash prizes go to the players though too, so it's not like they're
Very
making
cool.
money on this, which is cool. So it's awesome. Just talk to your store owners about it. Definitely show them also that proxying is completely fine. Like Wizards isn't gonna like just stop their WPN over it.
Yeah.
Both of my shops are WPN Premium, which is extremely hard to get, and they both run Proxy, Legacy, and cEDH. So there's no
Awesome.
risk or anything. So I know a lot of people have confusion with that.
Yeah. So it's, if someone wanted to convince their shop owner that proxying was indeed fine, do you know the documentation that they could look up to support that? Or
I don't, but I know if you're not running a sanctioned event, you can have proxies because it's not sanctioned.
right?
That's what I know for sure is like as long as it's not sanctioned, you're just running your own shop event. You can't claim it's a Wizards, event. Like same with
Yeah.
Eminence. I'm sure your guys' event's not like WPN certified or like
It is not.
Wizards. Right,
No.
exactly. So anytime you're running these events, like you can run them. You're just not like it's not through Wizards. That's basically what it
Yeah.
is. And so it's completely fine as long as you're not doing it through Wizards. That's what I see.
Notably, our events are they're cEDH events, not cEDH tournaments, but the tournament is like one thing contained inside the event, type of thing. So
Okay.
I think there are different guidelines there, to make everything kind of copacetic. But Silicon Dynasty is fully supporting proxies, and I'm super excited for that because I think that proxyless cEDH kind of is somewhat stunted cEDH in that not everyone can afford power and duels, and
Yeah.
I think it brings the speed of the game down by like a half a turn to a turn most of the time if everybody isn't full proxied or at least having some proxies in their deck.
Yeah, I think for cEDH, and then I think Legacy's also coming around on this where
Yeah, I've seen lots of 10
people just
proxy.
want yeah, people
Yeah.
just want to play like Magic, and they
Yeah.
I love Legacy and cEDH are my two favorite formats,
Yeah.
and I just having them be proxy friendly has allowed me to build so many different decks versus just having like one deck.
Notably, the legacy event around here, we there used to be weekly legacy at a shop, but it is now Pioneer because nobody could afford to play legacy anymore
Right.
after.
Yeah. Our shop was dying, our legacy scene, and then they introduced proxies and it brought it back. So again, with the local scenes, if you want to start up anything, just start playing with people in your area, go to the
Yeah.
shops and just ask them, hey, like, do you play Magic? Do you have a Discord? Do you want to join like whatever your area is? Just literally just name it. like that's what I did. It's
Yeah.
SoCal Magic. Like just name it. I don't know, or Pennsylvania Magic. Like
Yeah.
it's completely fine.
So if someone wanted to seek out your group specifically and join it, I posted the Discord link in the chat. And if they wanted to try
So
and find you in person, what stores do y'all congregate at?
So yeah, Finch and Sparrow, and then Collector Legion is another one that we go to, and TC Rockets I think
In
is
San
the other
Diego,
one
right?
in San Diego. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are sponsoring Playing with Power now. At least I've seen it in their videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some guys that are down there, which is cool. We have people down there, people in this area, and then we do have some NorCal people, but I don't know what shops they go to, so I will have to
Yeah.
get like more information. But like for any of that information on if you, as long as you pretty much live in California, or if you're interested or possibly moving here or visiting, even like I've invited people that just came and visited. You can just hop in and just ask some questions, and we'll try to get a meetup so you guys can play in paper.
Next time I go visit my sister in LA, I'll bring a deck and we'll
Oh yeah, come to
yeah.
Pigeon Sparrow. It's yeah, where I live in LA area, like so. Yeah, it's
Cool.
really close. It's like 20-minute
Awesome.
drive.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks so much for talking about that. It's really cool that you were able to develop kind of a scene, and thank you for kind of giving other people the motivation and the tools to develop their own. That's really cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, that's definitely the biggest thing I want to push for.
awesome, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Silicon Dynasty. Obviously, coming up January 13th through the 15th. This is the big push for Silicon Dynasty. I do need to say once again to everyone, the prize pool is now up to 5K thanks to our wonderful sponsors at Moxfield. It is going to be a huge in-person event. There are only 51 seats left. You are playing. Are you willing to share maybe what deck you're playing, or if that's too much?
I actually have 3 decks that I'm not
Okay.
sure if I'm.
All right.
They'll let you know. I have Rog Tavesh, which is our brew, the turbo stacks. I know definitely there's a couple people coming with that, so it'll be fun to try to get that deck in at least one of the top 16s. It gets so close, and I mean we've only been playing it for a couple months, so it's been getting close. And in our meta, it's been doing super well, so it's testing well. We just want to bring it to like a big event. There's only so many we can go to, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's between. So we have that one. I have a Jessica Timnalis, or Mad Farms, people call it. But yeah, that one's been really fun too. It definitely farms a little bit, but it's a spicy one. It's got like 23 lands, Bolas Citadel,
Okay.
Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineers in there, Magda.
Yep.
Curio.
Sounds like the one I was playing. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Shiver, if you know who that is. He's the one that's been helping me brew with that, and that deck's been awesome. He destroys us in like our Discord, so yeah. Just wakes up and just destroys us, and then goes and teaches, and he lives in China, so
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but yeah, he's cool. And then Winota, which was my main list for the last like 2 years. I have it pretty much foiled out. And I love that deck, and it's such a good deck, but it gets really targeted. And it's a deck that if you want to beat it, you can. And I think if people are going to come with mid-range, which I think just happens at big tournaments, I think that's what ends up happening at a lot of big tournaments is the overall, like the most decks that are going to be played are probably going to be mid-range decks because people want to go with like whatever's best into, you know, everything. They don't want to try to hit a certain strategy.
Lots of Thrasios Vile.
Right, and it's gonna that's usually the hardest matchups for Winota is like if there's multiple mid-range decks, you can't really control all of them, and sometimes they get around your stacks, and then especially if you get targeted, it's just really hard. But it's still an amazing deck. I think it's in a top 4 deck for sure. It's like an absolute crack deck, but it can be beaten if you wanted to.
Yeah. Winota, I mean, notably gets targeted a lot, and I don't think that Mike's performance at Punt City will make that any easier for Winota after Winota won the main event at Punt City.
I think they just recently did like a top 4 comedian.
Yeah, I believe comedian in the Playing with Power event.
Yeah, we're doing a video. Our next video, a little spoiler, is going to be deck list, but like not a commander tier list, but like legit deck list tier list with like links and everything.
That's fun.
And not like fully a tier list, but it's just like showing like what we would take to tournaments, and, you know, what we would consider and the list connected to it. Because like a lot of people will be like,
list, yeah,
a lot of people will be like, oh, like Timna Crom, best like amazing deck, but it's like which list? Because there's like 20 different people brewing it and building it, so it's like which ones we think we would take, you know.
I mean,
so we're gonna have
all of them have performed pretty well at the in-paper events that are happening, so.
Right. But I think there's like a couple that I would personally choose, and that's why I just wanted to give out like personal preference for us.
That'd be
cool. It's just nice to have at least like almost a database of sort, just in a video though. It's only going to be like, I guess it'll be we might name it that or something. It'll be funny. But we've been going through and like messing with the decks. Also with like a lot of new tech and stuff in it that has like recently come out that maybe a lot of people don't know about if they're not like literally cutting edge into Magic, because literally I feel like Magic has come out with so much new product too that it's very easy to just miss and
Yeah,
or things to slip through the gaps and
a lot of
like
product fatigue. A lot
yeah,
of yeah.
definitely. I need to chill out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a graphic the other day. It was some absurd number of every Magic card, like some absurd percentage of every Magic card ever printed was printed in 2022. Like I was
Right.
like
Yeah.
14% or something like that of all Magic cards printed were printed this year,
Yeah, that's crazy.
which is yeah, it's a huge number. Um, a thing that I wanted to ask you is you previously touched briefly on your testing group, how you're
Mhm.
testing. I think other people might be interested in the methodologies for your testing, like what you're testing against. If people
Right.
are playing, like if people are switching decks so you can test against those things intentionally, what your test group kind of looks like as far as deck composition.
Yeah, I would say like we have, it's funny, like half of the time it's like we're like playing the most troll decks ever. Just like we're basically playing like like high power. Like it's
Just
like a
trying to
joke,
slip
but
one
like
through the cracks, yeah.
we're just like messing around with like the most like a Chroma Sakashima, Timna Ikra like life,
Okay.
like it's hilarious. But that's when we're messing around. When we're actually trying to like tournament prep, I would say we do like I said, we're looking at like the top, 20 plus decks, whatever. And we usually take from those of what we want to play.
Mhm.
And then we'll actually like ask like, hey, can you play like Rock Silas, or can you play like Winota, or can you play Blue Farm, so I can like try and test this into the field. That's actually what we did with Rock Tavesh.
Okay.
We would play it against like what we thought were the best decks and like see like, okay, how does this perform? And then we obviously would take it to the LGS and take it to like our paper tournaments, because honestly, I think a big shift that a lot of people that only play like webcam or play like casual, I'd say like casual cEDH, more like you're not like playing it at a tournament,
Yeah.
is people will try to shark you. People will try to do things to like mess you up. And when people are playing really competitive, if you're not
Yeah.
used to that, I'm used to it from like the 1v1 format. Like I'm used to people trying to do that. So it's like if you haven't played 1v1 like comp REL, like really high level Magic, I definitely recommend, if you want to be a better player, to do that. And also to play, like if you can find a really good tournament group for cEDH, play with your friends and try to make it, seem as close as possible to tournament Magic,
Mhm.
and try to like, make sure everyone's like, if they miss a trigger or whatever, like you miss the trigger, like, don't like
Yeah.
take things back or stuff like that. Because I know so many various groups, and yeah, no one wants to play with that like that all the time. Like I said,
Yeah.
we have like meme games and we just like mess around at like 11 o'clock at night on
Yeah.
Cockatrice. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just mess around. But if you do want a tournament prep, I would say the best thing to do is to like, if you want to get better, is to do that like at least a couple times before the tournament. You
Mhm.
don't have to do it all the time. Don't fatigue yourself, but and then just play a deck that you're good at. Honestly, play a deck that you enjoy. That's going to be the best deck for you. It's like if you don't enjoy the deck and you just don't like the play style, but you think Blue Farm's the best deck and you just like show up with it, you might do okay. But
Yeah.
honestly, the people that are consistently showing up at the top are people that have been playing their decks consistently for a long time, or have been playing consistently for a long time.
I wonder if in kind of tournament prep, do you hold yourself to a higher standard than you would in like these casual 11 o'clock cockatrice games? Like, are you personally, even if people are okay with you walking back a play mistake, are you personally living with those play mistakes? Like, or is it something that you take into consideration when you're prepping?
I guess it's easier for me because like we literally had bi-weekly tournaments that I
Yeah.
could just go to. So like that was kind of like if I'm gonna prep for Silicon, just play like
Playing a
tournaments at
local.
ILGS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a judge there. People are yeah, like it's pretty much the same thing you would find at Silicon in terms of like the tournament structure. And so yeah, that's what I would do. And then if I'm trying to play like a more serious game, I'll let my friends know and
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to test this. And like, if I miss a trigger or something, yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll be like, okay, I missed that. And I'll like keep note that I missed it,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna go back completely on it. If we're just like messing around, then it'll be like 5 turns later, and I'll like draw a card.
You play a lot of in-person tournaments. It sounds like local in-person tournaments.
Yeah.
So as someone who's experienced with that vibe, what is a suggestion that you would make to someone entering a paper tournament for their first time that you wish you knew when you started?
Suggestion for like in paper. I don't know. I'd say definitely like you have to get used to like kind of reading people a little bit more. I don't know. Like some people will say like I know some friends that played like poker and
Like
stuff like
poker?
that, and they'll
Yeah.
be like, yeah, and they like, oh, I'm way better at playing in person than they are like online, and I kind of it's true because like
Yeah.
who was it? Matt Necrowin played. He also top forward at the Punt City.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He's told me that too. He was like, yeah, in person. But when we're playing on like cockatrice and stuff, he's like, God, I hate this player. He's like, I can't
Yeah.
tell if people are like bluffing. So I'd say like maybe like learn a little bit of like if people do certain things, or like when they draw a card, like the way they look at it and stuff like that. You can accrue information that way. That's something you can do. And then also just like the politics are a lot easier. I feel
Hmm.
like it's easier for people to trust you. I've had a problem with webcam too, and I don't like playing Winota on webcam to be honest, because like I feel like I'll tell people something, but they don't believe me. They think they just immediately assume I'm lying
And they want to
because they
go check
because they
your
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, they can't tell that I'm like in person. It's a lot easier if you're being genuine to like
Yeah.
sell it because like you're not really selling anything. Like you're just being like, hey, like I actually don't really have anything for this, and like if
Yeah.
I'm looking at you dead in the eyes and I'm like, okay, like yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
this guy's lying, or if he is, he's like a psychopath because I can't tell.
So how do
So
you
it's definitely yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely
so how do you
different.
build that kind of awareness? Like,
I don't know. I've played in paper. My like
okay.
I'd say 90% has been in paper, and recently I switched to webcam.
Yeah.
Very recently, so it's been a little bit of a shift honestly back to or not back to but to webcam. So I think it'd probably be the same shift for people going from webcam to paper. But yeah, it's just experience. I think if you've been playing in this format for a decent amount of time and your play group is like decently competitive, like John, like the people that we have on SpitePlays and then the people that I play with, like all of them have been like pretty decent. And if you want to get in touch with people that are pretty decent, like you can go online and try to like find a group. And I think he said something about a seminar. They have the cEDHU and stuff like that,
cEDH
right?
University, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You can find really good players there that are willing to help and talk about deck lists and maybe like get some games. So like it's if you want to find those people, you definitely can do that. And then also just like join as many tournaments as you can, I'd say. Just
Hmm.
playing, honestly. Like the people that I know that do super well in like modern, legacy, like all these formats that are competitive, it's the people that are like grind, like just playing
Yeah.
every day, like going out to RCQs all the time. Like those are the ones that end up doing the best, and they should because they're
Yeah.
putting in the work.
Putting in the
Like
practice.
that's how it is. Yeah.
People don't have a local scene. Do you think that the skills that you pick up from webcam cEDH are translatable to in-person tournaments, or do you think that
Oh yeah,
there's
hundred
a
percent.
entirely different vibe?
It's definitely a different vibe, but I think the skills are 100% transferable. You're still playing CDH. Like I still play CDH. I learn a lot of things from webcam too, just because I actually notice I play a lot. You can play a lot of different decks on webcam versus
Yeah.
like in person. You might have your own little local meta. Luckily with ours, like we allow proxies and people
Yeah.
show up with like different decks pretty often. But for I'd say on webcam, you can get like a big variation and test your deck against like some super weird random stuff and
Yeah.
also like against like the top tier stuff.
Yeah. Is there any place that you have found particularly useful as far as testing over webcam? Any places that you're playing right now?
Webcam? Yeah. I mean, we play webcam in SoulCal too.
Okay.
So we'll have a webcam going on there. So if you want to like hop
If
a spell
people wanted
table
to hit up
game,
the
just let
Discord,
me.
they could do that.
Yeah, just let me know. Playing with Power Discord has been really
Cool.
cool. I really like that. I think that one's only like Patreon though.
I think it is Patreon
That one's
only. Yeah.
that one's really nice. And then Nexus, I think it's the Nexus is called
Okay.
cEDH Nexus. Is that what it's called? I
I
just call it
think
the
so. Yeah,
Nexus,
I think
but
you're correct. Yeah.
it's been pretty decent there. R slash cEDH is okay sometimes. I will say I find the most like
The
random.
wildest games.
If you want to play against like some weird jank stuff, you can play in there because people just love bringing it. It's a lot of newer players too, so it's like definitely a different vibe.
A lot of
Um,
cockatrice too.
yeah, they think they have a little. It's been mainly webcam, I'd
Okay.
noticed, but yeah, there's still like some cockatrice. Cockatrice is nice too to like queue up some games. But yeah, feel just honestly like reach out to people, and I'm sure you can find some like play groups and stuff. You feel free to reach out to me in Discord and stuff like that. I'll plug
Awesome.
my Discord actually.
All right, well, Jesse, we're getting to the end of kind of when I gotta be ready for the cEDHU seminar soon. So I wanted to
Okay.
hit you with the lightning round, if that is cool with you.
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay, here's the easiest questions at the top of the lightning round. Number one, what is a thing other than Magic the Gathering that you are currently passionate about?
I'd probably say either martial arts or like
Okay.
lifting. Yeah.
There are a lot of dangerous people in the cEDH community. Our next guest, Elder Drunken Josh, is a martial artist as well. So I've
Cool.
noticed
That's
there's a
awesome.
lot of martial artists in the community. That's cool.
That's really cool.
What do you practice? What do you do?
I've done Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu. I competed in Taekwondo when I was younger,
Cool.
wrestling. And I'm probably just going to start up at like some MMA gym near me.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, just I like training it with some friends too.
Did like a month of judo when I was a small kid, and the instructor would always throw me because I was the biggest of the little
That's
kids.
judo.
And so I left. I was like, okay, I don't like this anymore. My head
That's
hurts.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's cool. What what are some things that you would like to plug before we go? Do you have anything in the community or
Plug.
from a personal perspective that you would like to shout out?
Oh, I don't know, there's so many people to shout out, honestly. It's like really
It's
it's nice that
tough.
I've been able to reach to so many people, but I know like at our LGS we had Shauna. I don't know what her plug is, but she plays Niv Mizzet and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Shauna is
She was
one of
really
the
good
Eminence
at our
casters.
LGS.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. She's an
Yeah.
Eminence cancer. That's
Yeah.
right. So yeah, go follow her. MTG Hot Dog, which was Lauren. I like him. He's funny.
Yeah, he's nice.
He goes to my LGS. Josh, Mind Muscle Magic is awesome. He's a local down in San Diego area, so
Cool.
um, he's a really cool guy. I would follow him on YouTube and stuff. Playing with Power, a lot of those guys are really cool. I don't know. There's just so many people.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you guys know these people, but there's a lot of great people in the community, and
That's cool.
it's
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to reach out and talk to these people and hang out with them, collaborate. So
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, I have one final question for you, and it is a thinker. So get your thinking cap on.
I think I
Be
know what it
prepared.
is.
You might know what it is. Jesse, what is the sexiest soup?
Soup. Yeah, I knew this question
Yeah,
was gonna
it's
happen,
coming. It's
and
coming every week.
I wasn't prepared for it. Honestly,
Mm.
let's see.
Happens every week.
Sexiest
You'd
soup.
think people might know.
I used to love clam chowder, but I don't eat dairy anymore. But
Okay.
I don't want to say clam chowder. Not gonna lie, I love clam
Clam
chowder.
chowder is very good. I went to a buddy's wedding in Rhode Island, and the wedding dinner was a clam chowder bar. It was like
Okay,
amazing clam chowder with like a bunch of toppings that you put in like bacon and stuff.
that sounds amazing.
It was
Yeah,
it was pretty
clam
rad.
chowder is definitely
Very
one of my
millennial thing to
favorites.
do.
Clam chowder bar. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Eminence MTG Live. Oh my gosh, spit it out, Scott. From all of us here at Eminence MTG Live, look forward to seeing you at Silicon Dynasty. Tickets are almost, we're 51 tickets left for the event, and the prize support has increased to 5K. It's happening January 13th through the 15th. So please prep for that. Of note, next week is the day after Christmas, so we probably will not be here. Fonzie wants me to ask you the duck question, but I'm already doing the outro, Fonzie. You'll have to message Jesse yourself. His Discord name is farther up the chat.
You can message me, Fonzie. I know Fonzie. A little bit.
So from all of us here at Eminence MTG, thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Well, we won't. I say that every time. It's just scripted in my brain. We might see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Happy holidays to all of you who celebrate, from mine and to you. We are going to go on a quick break and be back in about 10 minutes with a cEDHU seminar. Thanks everyone for coming out.
See you guys.
Everybody watch Josh strike a pose. Okay, everybody, we're back. It's about 8 p.m., which is time for cEDH University to start. That's right. Okay, everybody, we're back. Class is in session, and Josh has me on his computer right now.
We fixed it.
Yeah. Class is in session, so I'm gonna hand it over to Professor Josh. Who, yeah, I know, right? It's an honorific, but you gotta roll with it.
Dr. Professor Josh to you.
Dr. Professor Josh, I'm sorry. I will hand it over to Dr. Professor Josh to teach you some fun things about cEDH.
All right. So today I'm talking about expanding your cEDH playgroup and or finding people to form a tournament practice group with, which is kind of the ultimate goal of expanding your cEDH playgroup, right? Is you wanna get good. That's why you're here. So we'll be going over ways that you can find people who may play cEDH who would want to join your group. We're gonna be talking about getting ways to find people who don't necessarily play cEDH, who may play casual or may play other games to get them to play cEDH with you. And we'll be talking about ways you can do this both in person and online because it's good to play in both. That's what we'll be going over with this. So you can't play cEDH without friends to play with. That's just how the game works. I guess if you're really dedicated, you could play all 4 slots in your deck in a pod at the same time and just like run around like your Bugs Bunny at a baseball game. But um, I'm not sure if that is conducive to practicing because I don't know, you have to be real honest with yourself about not knowing all your opponent's hands. And also it's going to take a lot of time. So it's better to play with real people. And the way to do that is you have to find people to play with. The issue is cEDH is kind of a niche format. It's fast growing for sure. It's definitely in its infancy and it's definitely getting bigger, but it's still a very niche format and not a lot of people play it yet. So it's good to be able to drag people into the format who don't already necessarily play it, and it's difficult to find people who do play it within the format because not most EDH players, frankly, aren't really even entirely 100% sure of what a cEDH deck fully looks like or what it can be defined as. So finding high quality practice groups can be difficult because of this. There's really 2 locales to find practice groups, and that's online and in person. And then we're going to talk about both of them. Um, they both offer different experiences, and honestly, you should focus on playing in both. If you have an online practice group or a server that you can regularly play in online, that's great. You should work on getting one that meets like regularly or semi-regularly in person. If you play in person at a local commander league, or if you already have a practice group that meets at someone's apartment or at a tavern or cafe or something, great. You should try to find a practice group online that you can meet with regularly and play with. It's good to play in both locales. There's tournaments in both locales. There's Mox Masters online. There's the Eminence League in person. There's Punt City. There's Silicon Dynasty. There's the Cookout, etc. So if you want to be able to compete in both, you should practice in both. But also, there's things that you learn playing online that you wouldn't necessarily learn as quickly in paper, and vice versa. So it's good to play both. So as such, the goal of this seminar is basically to equip you with the tools that you need to create practice groups both online and in person so that you and your friends can all get good together. So do you even need a practice group? Well, technically, no. You could just play in a league or with randoms, but also yes, because it's good to have someone who's critical of your decks in a constructive way, of your play in a constructive way. It's good to have someone who can act as like a coach, who can talk through your plays. You can finish a game and say like, hey, I decided to play this spell at this time. Do you think it would have been better if I played this spell at this time? And they're not going to give you a disingenuous answer because they want to beat you next week in the league. They're going to actually genuinely want to help you because they value your friendship outside the game too. So it's good to be able to build that kind of relationship with other players so that you can get good. It's really good to find people like that. And like so they're also they're great to find consistent testing games at regular times where you can play every week. And it's also good to help you like try out new decks and new strategies in ways that you wouldn't be able to play with randos at a league or with people that you maybe play with like once a month on a server if you really know them or if you're regular on that server, or like it could just be random people on a server. They might not be okay with you testing out random stuff. So like here's some scenarios, some examples of scenarios that you might experience in a tournament that you would want to simulate using a practice group. You can say like, hey guys, do you mind targeting me out this game? I want to see what it's like being the table focus. You can say like, hey friends, like mind if I start this game with Ledger Shredder in my opening hand? I just added it to the deck and I want to see how it performs. Or you can be like, hey, I'm about to go for a breach line. I know all of you are F6'd out and don't have anything, but I want to practice doing this with interaction in people's hands. So I'm going to give each of you a Pact of Negation. You can cast it during this breach turn of mine, just so I can practice fighting through it. Or you could say like, hey, do you mind playing your Winota deck tonight? I'm going to be going to Silicon Dynasty, and I'm really afraid of my Winota matchup. I want to practice versus it. And these are all things that you really can't do to someone you just queued up with on a server, or someone that you're sitting down across from the league. You talk to like your local Tim Necron player, and you say like, hey, can you play Winota tonight? I want to practice versus that. They go, no, I want to beat you in the league tonight. So it's good to be able to like have an environment or a group where you can recreate those scenarios and do those things. Also, a regular play group of like-minded individuals is going to get less salty when you lose the 9th game in a row with your stacked brew that you're trying to get to be playable and or good. They're not going to come at you for saying, hey, stop bringing this to cEDH night. It's not a cEDH deck. They're going to say like, hey, I've noticed that you're attempting to do this, and this might help. Or they might just give you the hard, honest truth and like, buddy, I know you've been trying to make I don't know, mono white Crovax stacks work for the last month now, but I'm telling you, it's not working. It's a bad deck. So and like you're gonna respond to that better if it's coming from a friend. So it's good to have groups like that too. So before we really get into any of the ways to actually make a play group, though, we need to talk about vibes. We need to do a vibe check because again, like I've said, I think twice now, if people don't like you, then they don't want to play with you. And so you don't want to you don't want to be a jerk, basically. You want to be someone that people want to play with over and over again. Commander is a social format, and you kind of have to be aware of that. Most people just play Commander to socialize. This is like not really a Commander player statement, but a people in general statement. But most people don't want to be challenged or have to struggle with their hobbies. That's why they're hobbies. A lot of people use hobbies as a form of escapism. Not everybody has that like weird thing in your brain where you look at something and you say, "Oh, I like this. I need to be the best at it." Not everyone's like that. That's not a I wouldn't say that's not normal, but I would say it's not a common thing. It's like a percentile thing. Um and I think most cEDH players have that bug, that thing in their head. They look at they'd be like, "Oh, you can play Commander this way. Well, now this is the way I need to play Commander." Not everyone thinks that way, and that's something you have to be aware of. That doesn't mean that cEDH isn't for those people, but it just means that they're going to be approaching the game in a very different way than someone who might be invested enough to go to a cEDH university talk on how to find a practice group. So you just need to be aware of that. Most people, they don't want to play cEDH or any game or activity at the highest level. And in order to play cEDH with somebody who might be approaching the game more casually, you need to kind of reframe the game, or you need to learn how to identify those people and find people who aren't like that. If that's what you're looking for, if you want to only find people who are like, I need to get good like you, that's a noble goal. You need to be able to like notice like when like player A is playing cEDH because Godo is his favorite card, and he loves the fact that he can play Godo and everyone scoops. That makes him super happy. Versus like someone who's playing cEDH because like they're trying to get good, and Godo is the deck that they know that they can play right now. And like with a little bit of a nudge, they could be trying other decks and joining your practice group. So there's different kinds of players playing for different types of reasons, and to build your practice group, you need to be able to identify these people. This is more of an in-person tip because online, I think most people who are seeking out the play space to practice online are more of the I don't know why I keep doing this, like the people who are really 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 trying to practice or get good or at least win a lot. Um, yeah, so if people don't like you, they they don't play with you. So you need to be personable, basically. Use your social skills. You need to gas everyone up. Be nice to everybody. Say like 5 good things for every critical thing. In order to do this, don't start saying good things right when you're about to start saying critical things. You see something you like about someone, compliment that shit. Someone has a nice t-shirt, compliment it. Someone has a cool like sleeve for the deck, be like, yo, I like those sleeves. Or oh my gosh, I use those sleeves in my X deck. That's awesome. Or you could say like, oh, this commander, like people who play this commander know how to party. Say nice stuff to people because they'll be more likely to listen to the 1 or 2 critical things you have to say when it's sandwiched around like 5 or 6 like nice like I guess, vibe building statements, more or less. And so if someone like respects you as like someone who they want to play with at the table and likes you as a person, when you say like, "Hey man, I understand that you really like Rest in Peace and Helm of Obedience, but I don't think that's a good combo to run in your Tim Necrom Breach deck." Um, like they'll be more likely to listen to you. Um, so it's good to be nice, basically. And the way I see it, there are categories of there are many categories of Magic players. Those who play for like love of the game, those who play because they're just like that for exterior reasons, basically. Like the card shop is across the street from their work, and that's where they go after Fridays, or they're there because their friends there and they always play games with their friends. Um, and then there's people who play because they want some exterior outside the game reason. Like those are the type of people who play for their ego, or the people who play because they have all these old expensive cards and they have to use them somewhere. And identifying the reason that people play is also a way that you'll be able to see if they can fit into your play groups. You really want to avoid being a player who plays for their ego. You don't if you find yourself just seeking out wins for the sake of winning, and you're just like, I just need to beat these people no matter what. I don't think that is a CDH mentality in terms of practicing. That's a CDH mentality in terms of like, yeah, take that to a tournament. But um, if you're playing like that in every single game, then you're just being a jerk. Or a nicer way of putting it is you're just being an ego player. And you don't want to do that. That's not conducive to making a practice group. It's the golden rule, baby. Treat others the way you want to be treated and give what you want to receive. If you want to receive good feedback on your decks, then give good feedback on the decks that people show to you. Be constructive and don't be dismissive. Don't be like, why aren't you running Birds of Paradise? Be like, hey, I see you're on Elves of Deep Shadow and Noble Hierarch. Did you want to avoid Birds of Paradise because it's not a Tymna attacker, or was there another reason? Like, give them the benefit of the doubt that they considered this thing that you're suggesting already. And even if they didn't, the fact that you're approaching that situation respectfully, and hopefully they already respect you because you're nice to them, is going to make them want to like play a little differently or do the suggestion that you're making to them. And this is kind of transitioning into being an ambassador to the format, which is something that is brought up a lot in EDH, especially like right before the pandemic. It was like a big conversation for a few years, like be an ambassador to the format, like lend someone your deck, bring them into Commander. Maybe the draft doesn't have the people to fire, and you say, "Hey guys, like come play Commander." It's the same thing with cEDH. Like if you've been playing casual with some people for the night, and you say, "Hey, you guys want to try competitive EDH?" You can act as that ambassador to the format. And being that just means welcoming people into the format. Basically, you want to correct misconceptions in like a polite and non-elitist way. You don't want to come off as condescending. You want to respect other players, even if they're clearly not trying. You're not better than casual Magic players, and that's not an attitude that you want to bring into the game. First of all, like casual Magic is straight up harder than cEDH. As someone who plays about equal parts both, there's just so much more going on that you have to keep track of. There's just so many more wild things you might get hit with that you need to be able to play around. It's a whole different game, and I would definitely think that being a good casual player is a different skill set almost, but also just like it's way more difficult than being a good cEDH player. The things you have to know in cEDH is the scope is much narrower. So like not respecting casual players as players, I think is just A, incorrect, and B, just not conducive to getting a casual group. So don't come at this with the idea that you're gonna learn these people some magic, because you're not. You're just gonna learn these people some meta. They're already good magic players. They're playing magic at a card shop. They're usually like at least decent or trying to be decent. Um, and so you want to be accepting of mediocrity. Basically, not everyone's trying to get good, and not everyone who you play with is going to want to get as good as you. But they still might want to play with you and help you practice. They still might be like, "Yeah, I'll play Winota so you can practice against that." So like, you don't always need to push people, because when you push people to get better, sometimes you could push them out. So you really got to get a feel for how people want to play. You could literally ask them like, "Hey, if you're playing cEDH, are you playing cEDH to try and become like top tier good? Or are you playing cEDH because it's fun? Because I will give you suggestions based on which one you say." That's something that I've actually had a conversation with people about before, and it's a really constructive way to get people to want to keep playing with you. That's really what this seminar is about: is how do I get people to play with me more than once? Um, so yeah, so like, yeah, casual definitely is not about winning, what Chad is saying. Casual is about people going like, "Whoa, that was cool. I want to play with this guy again." If that's the reaction you get after a casual game, then you have won that casual game. And actually, that's like a really good transition into something we're gonna talk about later. So a really good way to get people to give a suggestion to somebody is again like looking at their cards and seeing like, wow, I see you're considering X. Have you also considered Y? Like, hey, like I see you're running Caustic Caterpillar. Like that's really great. And Nissan is a toolbox against artifact decks. Have you thought about Collector Oof? It does a similar thing. And that way you're not saying like implying that they didn't think about this. You're just saying like, whoa, hey, you're on this. Can I make a suggestion on the same thread? So that was just a lot of basically me talking about how to be nice. Is it really that important to be nice? Yes, it is very important to be nice. That's how people play with you more than once. So now that we made sure that you're a type of person that people want to play with more than once, let's actually talk about finding practice groups. It's easier to start online, so we'll start online. So online practice groups, I'm in actually a few of these, more than one. I'm in 3. So they meet with varying degrees of regularity from like once a week to whenever someone hits LFG. Um, Technically, cEDHU is a practice group because it's still semi-public, which means that there's a bit of like interference sort of via the mentors run on who plays games and who doesn't. And it is a server based around like the spirit of practicing and learning and getting good. So it's a really great place to start for a practice group. And it's a really great place to find other people who are practicing who are at a similar skill level to you or a higher skill level to you who you might want to poach into a private practice group, which is something that we're going to talk about a little bit like in like 30 seconds. So uh it's really good to find like a place where you can have like trusted webcam games, to find people in there who you jive with, to pull them into your practice groups. So first, to do that, you got to play online. So we've already talked about playing on the cEDHU Discord. There's a lot of other places that you can play online to practice. There's the RCEDH server, which has a lot of newer players. There's Founders Club, which is, I think it's like a semi-private Discord. There's various content creator discords. There's My Muscle Magic, there's cEDH TV, there's Mental Misplay. There's my Discord. There's Tolarian Community College if you want to go there and find casual players who might be interested in playing cEDH, which is a really good way to get a practice group. I'm telling you, casual players are great players to play cEDH, and it expands the format. And then there's also the cEDH Nexus as well, which is a really great place to find people who are practicing and trying to get good. Honestly, like the games that I've seen at cEDHU have been wonderful. For in terms of practicing, people are critical of plays in a constructive way, and there's usually people spectating and offering advice to everybody, which is really great. When someone asks for help, it's usually given to them, and it's a really nice collaborative cEDH experience. But also, if someone asks, it'll be like the mentors are very great to play with. I'm a mentor, so I'm great to play with. Yeah. So it's a good place to practice. So once you find a semi-regular play space online, it's good to start being a format ambassador on that play space. Be nice to everyone you meet, organize the games, set up times for people to play, and see who's nice back to you. And if you repeatedly play with someone, you're like, wow, I really like Pops. cEDH Dad. Yeah, I'm enjoying playing against his Riel deck. I think that he is a great player. I think we're at similar skill levels, and we're always around at like 5 p.m. at Eastern time. So I'm gonna invite him to a private Discord. I'm gonna say like, hey, you want to find 2 other people to practice with? And that's a great way to start. If you're regularly playing in a Discord and you find someone else who's also regularly playing, then you can regularly play with them in a private group, and then from there you can start practicing, because it's not always conducive to practice your weird stuff or ask someone to like cheat for you, like I was talking about with the pact and negation example in a public Discord. It's great to do that though with your private groups. So once you find semi-regular play space, start being a format ambassador, be nice to everyone you meet, see who's nice back, and most players will be nice back. And then after playing for a bit, just invite some people who you jive with and who are on at similar times to you to like a private group chat. And a really easy way to set this up is to schedule a game. You could say like, hey, Pops, hey, Faded, hey, I don't know who else is in chat right now. Hey, Scoots. Let's I see you guys are always on at this time. Do you guys want to play like next Thursday at 5 p.m.?
Yeah, let's
And
do it.
then okay, perfect. So the Scoots says yeah. So then we add everybody to a group DM, and all of a sudden, there we go. We have a practice group. We finish one game. We say, hey, that was real constructive. I feel like I learned a lot. Do we want to do this again next week? Boom, you're in. You have a practice group. That's all it takes. So it really just comes down to that. It's just using your social skills and making some friends and seeing and recognizing patterns and inviting people to play with you. People usually will, because it's convenient and it's easy for them and for you. So really no reason not to. It usually works for me. People are also like generally very flattered when you say like, "Hey, I think you're pretty good, and I think playing with you will make me better. So I want to keep playing with you." Like, unless someone's just busy or like really doesn't respect you, they're gonna be like, "Oh, wow, really? Okay, I'll try to make that work." So, yeah, just schedule a game with somebody. People who come to schedule games regularly will probably also practice with you. And even once you have a practice group, it's good to keep playing in those public discords to keep adding to your practice group. For one, not everyone can make it every week. It's good to have like 6 to 8 players. And also, just like people will drop, someone will be like, "All right, my work schedule changed. I got to dip out of the practice group." So it's always good to have a roster of people you can invite. But also, playing public games is one of the best ways to practice, and it's good to play in multiple environments. So even if you have poached like 6 people from the cEDHU Discord, it's still good to play there against people in the cEDHU Discord, because otherwise you're going to get an inbred meta almost with your practice group if you only play with them. And then next thing you know, you're going to be doing something like running very specific tech in a deck to try and beat this deck that always beats you. Like, I don't know. Um, I know someone who in my locals who plays Muldrotha, and they do a bunch of artifact based loops with that Muldrotha, and they're also on Collector Oof, because up until recently there was a ridiculous Basalt Monolith deck in our play group, and Collector Oof just bricks that. And so they're like, "No, I'll sacrifice Collector Oof. I need to go off," or "No, I'll bounce it." So they're on Collector Oof and like a bunch of ways to get rid of the Collector Oof when they wanted to go off. And that is just for this one deck. And that is what I would call an inbred meta decision that you get from only playing with the same group of people. So I would get a group of people that you play with regularly, but don't always play with them. Or if you do always play with them, like keep in mind, like don't adjust your decks just to beat Tom across the table because he beat you 3 weeks in a row. Like relax. Like recognize that Tom's not gonna be playing against you in a tournament, hopefully. And you'll be fine. And you want to keep it small. If your practice group gets too large, it becomes a public Discord, and that's just difficult to communicate on. You say LFG, there's like 7 people LFG, and then no pods get formed. It's a too many cooks type of situation. So keep it small. I'd say 10 people is like the maximum of what you want a practice group to be. You do want like 6 to 8 people, so you can get people spectating, people rotating around, people looking around. But you want to also have someone potentially maybe record your games, because that's the nice advantage of playing online is you can record your games. You can sit down on your commute to work if you're like on the bus or the train, or if you can listen to podcasts while you work, you can rewatch your games and be like, "Oh, no, I noticed I did this when I had interaction in hand. That's a tell." Or you can be like, "Oh, I could have played this line differently." Or you'd be like, "Ooh, I'm noticing this person is saying this when they have interaction, but saying this when they don't." So those are things that are great to um, put into your well, we really don't like Tom. All right. They've put into your head when you're looking at games. So in-person practice groups are a bit of a different animal. They're definitely harder to find and harder to form. cEDH again is a small but growing format, and in a lot of local areas, you may be the one person that it's growing from. So it's really important to put your format ambassador hat on, and put your nice format ambassador tie, and get your fanny pack full of format ambassador snacks, and go out there and be a format ambassador and be nice to everybody, because a lot of times finding in-person practice groups, if you don't already have a local cEDH league or a local cEDH night, is just going to be hard. If you have a local cEDH league or a local cEDH night, you can apply most of what I said to the online practice groups to the in-person practice groups. Just go to where people play regularly, find people you like, and invite them back to your apartment for beer and pretzels cEDH later. And then beer and pretzels cEDH can transform into, "Hey guys, I'm going to Silicon Dynasty, and I got 3 seats in my car. Anyone want to come with me?" And then you're practicing with those people for a tournament. So that's if you have a regular cEDH league, then you're already pretty set, and you can just use the online tips. But if you have no cEDH league, maybe there's like one other guy who plays cEDH in your locals, and he's playing Urza, and he hasn't updated it since 2019 because no one will play against it. Then you're gonna have to build the group from the ground up, and that means playing casual. In fact, that means losing casual, which is something that I'm sure is making people grind their teeth. Like, I have to lose games? Damn Skippy, you do. So let me explain. Let me explain. So cEDH has 2 main perception-based onboarding issues. Issue 1 is players have no idea what competitive EDH actually is. They assume that whatever the strongest deck they've seen is cEDH, And this is how you get players calling something like Eldrazi tribal, or like Azusa Turbo Scoot Swarm like competitive EDH. Like, no, that's just a deck that you can't beat. That's not competitive EDH. But saying to somebody, like, yeah, my friend's got like basically a cEDH deck. He puts like 17 Scoot Swarms into play on turn 4 and I can't beat it. And then saying like, well, that's not really a cEDH deck. It's just a deck that's too strong for you. That's going to make that person not want to play cEDH, and B, think you're a jerk. Be like, well, that seems like a very, very difficult deck to beat. Unfortunately, or you don't say unfortunately, that's condescending. But like, that seems like a very difficult deck to beat for sure. In competitive EDH, there are a lot of decks that can just go over the top of stuff like that, and then explain like Rograk Silas, or explain like how Winota puts Hushring Griffin into play, or something like that. You can say that in a construct. You can like correct that misconception in a way that doesn't make you seem like a spike, basically, because a lot of casuals don't want to play with spikes because they have a misconception about what a spike is. I feel like for people who are spikes, the enjoyment from the game comes from being like, wow, this game has a lot of facets that I can improve on. And I love the fact that I can like try to get really good at this game and try to get better. I really want people to play with me so I can get better at this game, so I can practice this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, right? That's what I feel like being a spike is. But if you don't have that thing in your brain, right, that makes you want to do that to all the games that you touch, and you're just playing Magic because like, wow, I'm just a big fan of dogs, and wow, there's so many cool dogs in Magic. When my friend told me about this game during the pandemic, I was very excited to build my dog deck. And here's Ridden Seri. They might be willing to play cEDH, but they're not gonna want to be pushed as hard as you're pushing, and they're gonna be turned off when you make a statement that makes it seem like they don't know stuff. Because of course they don't know stuff. They knew that already. Why are you telling them this? So you don't want to be condescending to these people when you're telling them when you're correcting misconceptions about the format. Um yeah. The other like misconception that people have is many casual players associate cEDH with pub stomping. And this is why I suggest losing games to get people to play cEDH with you, is because if you tell them you're a cEDH player, a lot of people just assume like, oh, he's just gonna fucking beat me. He's gonna play Mana Crypt. He's gonna destroy me. Like, I honestly suggest like taking a precon and changing nothing in the precons that you can make, so you can hide behind the excuse of no, I'm not spiking this. I have not updated this precon. This is an unedited precon. If someone just doesn't want to play against an unedited precon, then they're definitely not gonna want to play cEDH with you. But like, it's better, I think, to play your bad deck and lose a couple games and then stick the Mana Crypts in than play your good deck and win a couple games and then take the Mana Crypts out. I think it's best just to make sure that you're not pub stomping, because that's really a negative perception that people have, and that's not something that you want to be perpetuating in the community. It's not going to get people to want to play with you. And there are people who play like super juiced high power casual EDH, like Karth the Lion, Turbo Liliana alt, for example. That's like a one that like people will play, and those people might want to play cEDH with you. But like, honestly, like going in there and like taking the risk of seeing like Karth the Lion and being like, oh, I assume it's Turbo Liliana. Let me get my like 9 out of 10 power deck, and I hate the power scale. But like, you guys know what I mean with that. Like a deck that's almost cEDH but not quite. Um, like, and then playing against them, and then it turns out they're just playing like all their favorite Vivians. This is Vivian tribal, and they wanted to have black so they could demonic tutor more Vivians. And then you just feel like a jerk. It's better to like dive to the Liliana alt on turn 4 and be like, well, should have seen that coming. Hold on, let me go get my Mana Crypt. Then have it go the other way around and have you be the person killing everyone in turn 4, and then being like, ah, of course, I knew it. When he said he was a cEDH player, I knew this was gonna happen. You don't want to confirm their negative perceptions. So you want to make sure that you're doing the moniker of cEDH good by bringing up like cEDH is really just a rule zero conversation. When you play cEDH, you agree to play cEDH, and a lot of people have anger directed at these pub stopper types, and you don't want to dump on the pub stoppers. Honestly, you could say like, yeah, well, that person's just playing to stroke their ego, but that person might be like a perennial customer of the card shop, and people might value their opinion on deck building and other stuff like that, and they might just play in a little bit of a toxic way, but otherwise be a very nice person. And so like, don't don't dump on the pub stompers because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't want to talk bad about someone even behind their back. If you're trying to get the community on your side, you want to be on the side of the community. And so you could say like, oh, well, maybe that person had like a misconception issue with the deck selection phase of the game. Like rule zero conversation is complicated, and like even the internet hasn't figured out a proper way to say it. But competitive EDH, the rule zero conversation is we're playing competitive EDH. Are you guys cool with this? We're all gonna play our best deck. Perfect. Let's sit down. And so if you're having rule zero issues, competitive EDH is a great way to start. And so that's a good way to loop that, like, because this to take that frustration about the pub stomper and spin that into wait, no, competitive EDH good. So it's a great way to get that going. And so back to losing casual games. The people you're looking to bring into your casual group likely don't play cEDH. If they did, there'd be cEDH locals in your area, or you'd be able to find cEDH pods. And so you're gonna need to onboard them into the format. The easiest way to do this, and this is something that I love doing, I go to conventions and I bring these with me, or I'll go to like a card shop somewhere that I haven't been to before, and I'll bring more of these. And it's just give away proxied competitive EDH decks. Go to your local library or a print shop. Take like a couple deck lists from the database, maybe swap out some difficult to play cards if they're in there, and print them out, cut them out, leave them over some basics or some chaff, and just literally hand them to people to keep. If you want to, you can loan decks to people, but like it costs like 50 cents per page at the most to print most places. So we'll assume 50 cents per page, and penny sleeves, which are like $1.50. That's like $8 per deck, and it takes about 45 minutes to cut out a cEDH proxy deck haphazardly and sleeve it over some basic lands with penny sleeves. So you could do conceivably a full pod with 3 extra decks for your next LGS night while watching a 2.5-hour movie. So I'm just saying it's that easy. It's like what, $24 and 2.5 hours of work, and all of a sudden you've built your own cEDH pod and you can give that stuff away. It's really, really simple. And that's like yeah. Mike's talking about the teacher's box. Bonnie has a box of decks that are great to lend to people that he brings around, and he's just like, all right, here's Tana Malcolm, here's how you play it, take it and go. And that's another way to do it, is you could have those loaner box, but I think the next step up, if you have the ability to get cheap proxies, is to just literally give away proxy decks. You could also teach people how to print the proxies, but like it makes the format so accessible when you hand someone a deck. Like, yeah, here's Kinnan. You win with Basalt Monolith, or like putting Nyxbloom Ancient and Consecrated Sphinx into play and laughing at people. Those are your win cons. Enjoy. Like, it's better to do something like that because it's a wonderful gesture, and B, it really gets people into the format. So like, yeah, have some loaner decks, or have some decks that you're willing to give away. And if you haven't printed out like just cheap proxies before, Moxfield actually makes like really, really printer friendly proxies that you can just select right from the deck page. And also Deck Stats has proxies that look like real cards. If you have the ability to adjust your DPI, you can set that to like 1200 DPI, and they, from like a distance, if you cut them out with the corners round, they look like real Magic cards until you like look and be like, oh wait, that's sleeved over a basic swamp. But they're really good proxies, both Moxfield and Deck Stats. So if you're trying to save ink for yourself, you're printing from your home printer, I recommend Moxfield. If you're printing from somewhere else and you want them to look nice, I'd say Deck Stats. But definitely let people borrow decks and be willing to give those decks away to someone who seems like they love it, because that is the easiest way to get people into the format. There are people who I gave decks away to at conventions who I like still hear about them like going to locals and playing, which is wonderful. It's definitely a great way to get people into the format. And if you want to know what decks to give away, that's something that is its own seminar in itself. But some real quick suggestions are decks that play like casual decks. You're trying to convert casual players. You want them to feel something familiar with the deck they're playing. Don't hand them turbo ad nauseum unless they're like a legacy player and they know something like that. But if they're just like a casual EDH player, hand them something like Kinnan, Paco and Halden, Winota, like a deck that does something that feels casual. Like, I'm gonna turn my Winota sideways. Here's a creature that gives everything double strike. Here's Rick. Get wrecked. Like, that's something that a casual player will be like, oh, I could do that. That's awesome. I want to play cEDH. So think, use your empathy. Think from a casual player's perspective. Think like, all right, I played 4 games with Tom across the table now, and he really likes playing Maelstrom Wanderer and putting a bunch of stuff into play. I'm going to suggest Animar or Sakashima Kodama to him. I think he'll enjoy Animar or Sakashima Kodama. Or like, oh, there's Tom across the table. He's playing his tribal deck again. This time he's got wizards. Last week he had goblins. It's just Marwyn. I think he'll enjoy Marwyn. And you don't need to push people towards those tier 1 decks. Push people towards decks that you think they'll enjoy playing. And if they like the format, they will gravitate towards the tier 1 decks naturally. So that's yeah, Krog Sakashima only for Storm players. If you find a Storm player in your locals who doesn't already know about Krog Sakashima, just telling them about that is like, it's really wonderful to watch someone who like plays Legacy Storm or plays Modern Storm or just like putzes around with Storm archetypes and casual, be like, wait, I get to do what with a Gataxian probe? It's sick. So yeah. Yeah, and if you get bored by playing casual precons against cEDH players, just visualize it like this. Your victory is going to be having people who respect you and like you enough as a player that when you say like, "Hey, here's Kinnan, you want to try playing against my Jessica Ishai?" They say like, "Yeah, yeah, I'd love to." Jessica Ishai also a great deck for casual players. Just telling people that you get to murder bird somebody on like turn 4, they're like, "I get to what?" So it's a really it's think about the sales pitch for your commander decks that you're giving to people to make it sound like a sales pitch for a casual deck, because there's a lot of cEDH decks that you could play or describe, I guess, in a way that makes it seem like a casual deck. It seems appealing to a casual player. If you say like, yeah, I do a bunch of stuff and then Thassa's Oracle, like that's not a great way to say it. Or you could say like, no, I activate Hermit Druid and then I have my entire deck in my graveyard and I putz around with that for a little bit and hope I don't get blown out. And then if that works out for me, I can draw the Hermit Druid back with Memories, or the Thassa's Oracle back with Memories Journey and try to cast it like from my draw step. Like hype the combo up. Don't just simplify it because that's boring. So yeah, and there's other ways to get people into cEDH too. Like the way I got into cEDH, actually, we'll talk about myself for a bit. Is I was at a local of a Magic club, and someone who was an older sibling of all of us, I was in high school, came and they asked us all like if we played Commander, and we were like, yeah. And they're like, I've been playing Commander a lot at side events too, and I want to see like what you guys have for decks. I'm gonna play a really good deck. I want you all to play your best decks. And so I sat down with my Niv Mizzet Storm deck, and we played against Sir, and he put Necropotence into play and played a Shimmer Mirror, which had like literally just come out, like a couple, like I think Innistrad had just been released. So it was like the previous set was Shimmer Mirror, and he just put a bunch of crap into play and murdered us, and we were like, how did he do that? And then he was like, oh, this is like, his competitive EDH wasn't really a thing like that was named yet, but he was like, oh yeah, this is like a really strong deck. Like let me look at your decks. Let me see what I can improve from your deck and see if I can make it a deck that can play against this one. And he looked at my deck and he was like, hey, have you ever heard of the card Curiosity? And I was sold after that. I was like, I could do what with Niv Mizzet? So um that's another way to do it, is you can sit down at the casual player table and be like, hey, I have a competitive EDH deck. You guys all want to play your best decks and try to go up against it and try to see what happens. And then after the game, like look at the decks and be like, hey, like I see you're running this like Naya creature deck. Have you thought about switching commanders to Jetmir or like something like that? So that's another way that you could do it, is like be like, hey, have you tried turning your casual deck all the way up to 11? Might have to swap commanders, but the strategy will be more or less the same, because there's enough deck diversity in competitive EDH that you could find something that translates to a casual archetype for most decks. So that's a good way to do that. And then yeah, Atla. Atla is the casual Atla Palani is basically cEDH Atla Palani. It's just like a few tweaks. Casual has like a couple like really fun cards that make the deck not work combo wise. You swap those out for the Atlas stuff, and then it goes. So there's a lot of decks that are basically cEDH decks in casual that casual players love anyway. So like play casual for a couple weeks of your LGS and talk to the casual players, and then eventually be like, hey, I see you playing Locust God. Have you heard of Mizzet Perun? And stuff like that. So yeah, there's like a lot of decks that are 2 sneezes away from cEDH hotness, as Mike has said. So I'll give a few more anecdotes. I'll talk about how my various practice groups have formed. I have an in-person practice group that I more or less poached from my LGS and or other places that I played nearby. It's like half like I went to like a local college, so it's like half like my college play group, half my LGS play group. And all I did for these groups is when I found someone who I repeatedly will enjoy playing with, I had just a group chat of people who I invite over for beer and magic at my apartment, and like that's or my dorm when I was in college. Um, that's the thing is like inviting somebody over for drinks and magic or for like food that you've made and magic is a real great excuse to get them out of the LGS. They're like, why don't we meet at the LGS? Be like, well, the LGS won't let me bring these red velvet cupcakes I made, or like, well, the LGS won't let me bring this whiskey or whatever, or the LGS won't let me play this music. So you can always like use something that's not as the LGS at the LGS as an incentive to get somebody into your apartment, into your private play group to play Magic with you, and then eventually, hopefully, practice tournament scenarios with you. But most of my play groups are when I played with somebody a couple times and I like them, I'd be like, hey, like I play Magic in my apartment sometimes. I have a group chat for it. Do you want to be in the group chat? And like sometimes people say no, but like usually they say yeah, and then they just say no when I invite them. No, actually, usually it goes really well. For tier one con, I invited like 10 people over to my apartment. I gave them all beer, I gave them all food, and I said, like, I want to play cEDH. I want you to target me in every single game. If you're not in the game, I want you to distract me, tap me on the shoulder, tell me something unrelated to magic, show me your deck that you're working on. Like, I want you to try and fuck me up so that I can practice for this tournament. And honestly, like putting myself in that situation did wonders, not just for tier one comp, for all the tournaments I've been to. Like at Punt City, someone they like put their hand on my shoulder and was like, hey, what are you doing after the tournament? And I was like in the tank trying to like suss out my combo turn, and I was just able to be like, hey, like not right now, I'm like in the middle of my combo tank right now, and I didn't even look up. I honestly don't even remember who it was. So it's like it's good to be able to practice those kinds of scenarios, and you won't be able to practice those kinds of scenarios unless you have players that you can have a conversation with. So find people you like and invite them to group chats. If there's nothing else you take from this talk, uh, then uh, then that's what I'll say. Find people you like and invite them to group chats. Someone says, "Can I talk about the NBC approach with like my Holland deck?" Um, so in a bit. We're almost done with the talk, then I'll talk about that. So overall, just like be nice, make friends, like you did when you were like a kid. Go up to someone and be like, "Hey, my name is Josh. I also like Commander. Do you want to play a game with me?" Works wonders. Works wonders. Like I know Magic players can be an anxious bunch. But like honestly, like the other players are more afraid of you than you are of them. And I tell myself that all the time. So when I go to conventions and I put up a sign asking randoms to play with me, I'm like, you also got to make eye contact with them when they walk by because otherwise they won't play with you. They're just as anxious about this than you. It's like, do it. Like, get over yourself and do it. So it's something that you have to remember. So yeah, that's basically it. Like get someone's contact info, add them to a group chat. If you take nothing else from that, do that. So I'll do questions now. And while I wait for other people to type other questions, I'll talk about the NBC approach. I NBC stands for no bad cards. I don't think I don't think it's a way to put for every deck, but it's a really great way to experiment building and practicing with decks to learn a lot. And basically, what that means is you take all the cards that aren't individually good on their own or directly with the commander out of the deck, more or less. And you try to rework the deck from scratch, building with that philosophy. So I did it with Hullen. The only like Hullen cards that were in the deck were Shrieking Drake and the mana combo card with Shrieking Drake, and the rest of the deck was just like good stuff and like a Hermit Druid pile. um, it was very fun to play. I learned a lot while building it. Don't think it's a good deck. It's probably worse than regular Holland, but that's not the point. The point was to make a good deck. The point was to practice. I'm in New York City, and the closest local events are in Long Island. Yeah, there's the Rip and Ship events in Long Island. So you can still. I know there's cEDH card shops in New York City, Academy Assassin. I don't know what they are because I don't play in New York City. But you can still go to card shops and find people who play competitive EDH casually at card shops and invite them to practice groups. Um, you can even like go to card shops and like ask if they'd be willing to host a cEDH event. Be like, hey, like I really enjoy cEDH. Would you be willing to host like a Magic tournament, Commander tournament with prizes? I know Eminence has Command Tower. You can always have them use that, make the tournament super easy. They don't even have to have a real tournament organizer. They just have someone who manages the app, which is
Oh,
something that a
that sounds
store
like a
employee can
great
do.
piece of software.
It's pretty awesome, and it's pretty affordable too. So
Also,
I
the
don't
thing I
even.
wanted to mention was in New York City specifically. I think most of Ramp Gang is from New York City, so like that whole crew is there.
Yeah, there's multiple I know cEDH crews
Yeah.
in New York City, so you gotta find them. Honestly, Magic Twitter is a good place to ask because a lot of people who like see themselves as ambassadors of the format are on like competitive EDH Twitter, and if you say like, "Hey, I'm from this area, I don't know anybody on Twitter," and someone who might know somebody from that area or someone who might be from that area sees that, like they'll put you up there, they'll at you, and they'll connect you with other players because like people like doing that. It's a great way to get followers on Twitter is connecting players and being a nice person. And B, people like enjoy being that ambassador of the format. That's something that a lot of people like value doing in the hobby. And so like asking for help and finding a practice group that way is a great way to do it. Twitter's a good place to ask. Facebook, if you have local Facebook groups, is a great place to ask. I would avoid asking on Reddit. Reddit is a little too decentralized. But also, if you're in Discords, a lot of Discords have places where you could talk about like local stuff and find other people who live in your area too. Um, I would just there's no like place where you can like enter it on a website. I'm from here where the cEDH group's at. If there was, then I wouldn't have to give this talk for as long as I did. But there you kind of have to do some sleuthing yourself. But yeah, there's definitely places where you can ask, and I think going to a bunch of LGSs and seeing what's being played, or asking the store owners like, "Hey, does anyone ever come in here and play cEDH?" is a good way to do it. Yeah. Heck yeah. That's more or less everything I had to say,
Wow,
more or less. Yeah.
that was
That's
great.
the talk. We had exactly 45 minutes, which is what I told Mike. So
Nice.
look at me go. Look at me go.
It's like you've educated before in some way.
Yeah, it's like I almost do this professionally.
Yeah, weird. Weird how that
Yeah.
works. Yeah, chat says you finally took a breath.
Yeah,
Josh,
I just go. I give a lot of seminars, Fonzie, and most of my like for my job, and a lot of them are like, I have to fit how much information in my 1 hour program? Okay. So I just learned to just like have my outline and just go from yeah. This has been especially like this last like month or so, it's been a lot of talking to people about professional stuff, which is I honestly really enjoy it. So it's been great. Yeah, when you're talking to people about joining your practice group, you should take some time to breathe and give them some time to talk. Don't hit them with a wall of text about competitive EDH. Don't lab explain the format to them.
lab explain, huh?
Yeah,
Love
lab
that.
explain. That's a statement that I forget where I found that, but like it's when you over explain the minute, complicated details of Magic to someone who's just trying to learn basic format concepts. Like when someone's like so I can like play my creature and then attack. You say yes. You don't say, well, there's also a main phase too, and sometimes it's better to wait to the main
Yeah.
phase two to play your creature. You don't shut up. They're trying to figure out how mana works. Let them play their creature then attack. Same thing for cEDH when they're like, oh, so like if I have no cards left in my library, I could play the Thassa's Oracle and like figure it out. Don't like get into all the sequencing scenarios. Well, if you think they have this, play it this way. Be like, yes, you play the Thassa's Oracle and you respond with this way. There are going to be situations where it's correct to do it a different way, but like for now, we'll get to that way. And if there's a situation where it comes up, I'll point it out to you. And that's the way to do it. You don't want to overwhelm someone with information because then they might feel like cEDH isn't for them because they're like, I can't learn all these things in time. This is intimidating. So you don't want that. It's a game. It's still a game that's played for fun. There's not enough prize money in cEDH tournaments for this to be something that you could play professionally. Even if you win them all, there's not enough prize money in cEDH tournaments yet for you to be able to play them professionally. So
Yeah.
don't treat it like something so serious. Treat it like a game. Focus on the experience of your opponent still, and make sure they're having fun so that they want to keep playing with you. And so that when it does become something that you can play professionally, you'll have like a team who will help you get good and maybe buy you food at tournaments in between rounds.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
what
that's
you
the
need.
ultimate
And
goal, right? You
maybe
got to have
sleeve your
the
entire
tournament
deck.
squire.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be like, Squire, I've been deck checked. They need to re-sleeve me. And then hand them their deck. Or be like, Squire, I demand food in between rounds. That's the ultimate goal of the practice group,
Yeah,
right?
I would say,
But
yeah,
that
absolutely.
person who's like, man, I really like helping you get good. I love the practice environment, but I love the tournament environment. I love traveling to the cities, but man, I don't like competing. That's the best friend to have because then
That's
they'll
what you
bring you
need,
food.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
A team.
Chat, do we have any questions for Dr. Professor Josh? Everybody
Waiting for the chat.
start typing your questions.
Or just statements, anecdotes.
Yeah, or tell us what kind of bird you like.
Yeah, where's the plastic pipe?
It has
What does that
rose in
mean?
it. You gotta get because you have a robe on.
Oh, I
Robe
see.
and a pipe. The classic educator garb.
No, I actually have a robe on because this room is poorly insulated. I was gonna wear regular clothes, and then I was like, I'm cold. I have a glass pipe. I'm not sure if I can bring that out on Twitch,
Nope,
though.
can't do that. That's TOS for sure.
Yep, can't do that.
All right. Well, it
Scoot's
looks
like,
like
and scream ending. Get him off.
yeah.
I remember now why we don't invite Elder Drunken Highlander to things.
Rebel Tennis 21 asks Josh, what are your event plans for 2023?
So I'll be missing Silicon Dynasty, sadly. But I'll definitely be in the Twitch chat talking smack for at least one of the games. I'll be going to Punt City 2. I'll be going to, hopefully, if I can swing it, Cookout. And then I'll see what else I can swing after that. I'm considering maybe trying to go to a Portuguese League tournament in Europe, but that's at this point unlikely. But I really want to do it, and I might try to go to the Eminence Midwest event. And there's also a small chance I make it up to the Magic 30 event in February in Philadelphia. Even if I don't, the tickets to that are expensive, but tickets to go to Philadelphia are not. So
Yeah.
I might just like go hang out in the city while everyone else does that, and then hang out with them after hours and go to the LobbyCon for that because that's fun. I do that with Kineticon sometimes.
LobbyCon.
And I'll be at Kineticon most definitely this year. If you're in the tri-state area, come to Kineticon. There's not a lot of Magic players there usually, so I get lonely.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cosplay con.
Oh, cool. What do you cosplay as?
I don't. I cosplay as a Magic player.
You go to look. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I just wear a nice shirt. Yeah. Oh! I forgot Rip and Ship. I've made a promise to try and go to one Rip and Ship event this year and in 2023. I keep telling people down there that I'll go to one. So I will be definitely making it to one, and when I do, I will be talking about it before I go, so you'll know which one it is, and I'll be vlogging it. So
Gotta go play games with Max.
yes, exactly. Yeah, Max is one of the people who I was like, I'll try, I promise. It's hard for me to get to Long Island.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Couple of trains, yeah.
Yeah. I might just drive
You might just drive. That'll work too.
through the ocean. We'll
Okay.
travel by map.
Travel by map. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for your views and for your questions in the chat, and thanks to Professor Josh, everybody, and we'll see you for another wonderful cEDHU seminar in the near future.
Thanks for watching.